Today, we're going to be covering the controversial figure, Asmongold. Recently, he's gone over why he lived in the toxic waste dump that is his house. And he kind of goes more in depth about his personal life. Now, I haven't always liked Asmongold, but actually, I've been really liking him recently. He's a very out there character, and I just find him just interesting in general. But we're going to take a look what he has to say and kind of just pick it over.
Hey, guys.
There it is, boys. Where's all? You can see the kind of the plates in the background. It's been collecting. There's probably a lot of creatures and creepy crawlies all in that shit.
It's me, and today I want to answer a question.
Asmongold's been growing on me honestly like a fungus. So, you know, his whole he just emanates like some say the word of Nurgle, and if you know who that is, he's the pestilence god in Warhammer.
A lot of people have been asking me
all right, let's get into
my
it.
whole life, and more importantly, they've been asking me a lot recently, especially online. And that question comes in many forms, but it all is distilled down to the same thing, which is, in one form or another, why are you like this? Whether it's the dead rat alarm clock, the barbecue.
Wait, what?
Like
the dead.
Whether it's the dead rat alarm clock.
The dead rat alarm clock.
Barbecue puke shower curtain. Dead animals.
The barbecue.
Barbecue puke shower curtain. Dead animals in the house, or any other one of the stories that are just an indicator of me living like a complete fucking animal.
Yes,
people
animal.
always wonder, why would a person live like this? Why would a person be like this? Why am I like this? And I think that honestly, you know, there's a lot of answers for this. I really don't want to make this like a super long video, so hopefully I can distill it down to some main points and not really go off on too many tangents, although I think that I probably will, because there's a lot of like history with it and everything like that. And so basically the first thing you need to know about me is that I actually, if you can believe this, I know this might sound shocking, is that I actually have not always been like this. This is a relatively new thing for me.
All right, let's hear the clip.
I think that it really kind of started a lot when I would say in high school, and then later on it kind of entered phase 2. And that was probably somewhere around 21 or 23, somewhere around there in those age groups. And that's whenever, you know, the degeneracy really kind of went, you know, it ratcheted up to the next level. I leveled up, new expansion release, DLC, etc., right? And so this happened then. Because as a kid, I was actually very much like a very conscientious kid, in the way that I basically didn't really want to be perceived in a negative way. I wanted to be seen as a good person, etc. And I've always had a big problem.
So Asmongold has been, I would say, a lot more honest about his thoughts recently. He's even kind of a figure in like the new Gamergate shit that's been going on, and he just puts out his opinions. I believe he honestly believes a lot of what he says, which I do respect. And he's just a very out there guy. He doesn't care how much you rag on him for being a disgusting pestilence. The fucking whatever many diseases he spreads throughout his entire neighborhood. He doesn't fucking care what you say about him, and that's something I do really like about him. He's like an open weirdo. And but he actually you know, there is a brain up there. He actually has some I think unique perspectives, which is really fucking cool.
With being able to like relate to other people.
He's just a weird dude.
I think that I'm just a little bit off, right? I wouldn't say that I don't have a moral compass, but I would say that my moral compass doesn't point north. And this has been a problem in a lot of cases in my life, whether it's with relationships or friendships or anything in between. I've had a lot of problems because of that. And in the process
because of his moral compass,
between,
I'm sorry guys, I'm
whether it's with, and this has been a moral compass, but I think that I'm just a little bit off, right? I wouldn't say that I don't have a moral compass, but I would say that my moral compass doesn't point north. And this has been a problem in a lot of cases in my life, whether it's with relationships or friendships or anything in between. I've had a lot of problems because of that. And in the process
I think
of this,
Asmongold actually runs, helps manage a company. I believe this guy can be a ruthless businessman. I really do believe it. And there were some leaks a while ago where one of it, if you know the Mizkis leaks, where he was trying to defend his friend from something out there. I don't want to get too far into it because that's a whole nother can of worms. I would have to explain a lot. But essentially, Asmongold handled that very, very coldly and very quickly. He was just like, look, you need to get rid of this fucking guy. He's a liability. He will fuck us over. Screw this guy immediately. I don't care if he's a best friend. I don't care anything. This is it. He's very calculating, and yeah, I would say his moral compass is very cold. I would say so.
I've learned a lot of things about myself, and the main thing is that my take and my view on moral issues is not really what I would say a normal person thinks. And this has caused me a lot of problems. And especially like as a young kid, being able to like interact and fit in with people, it's a weird dichotomy because the truth is I actually always did have a lot of friends, and I never had problems making friends. But at the same time, I always felt like I was very different from a lot of other people because of the way that I felt. I used to have, for a comparison, just a point of reference, I guess you could say, I used to have my mom read me all of the different like sins in the Bible and everything because I understood even as a little kid. I'm like, there's something wrong with you. You better learn this so that way there aren't any problems in the future. And so I would have her read all of these to me. That way I would understand how to behave, right? Because it just never came naturally to me. Things that come naturally to other people were not natural and are not natural. It's not like things have changed. If anything, they've probably gotten worse. As I've gotten older, and so I've always had.
I honestly think because like back in the day, he used to be. This is one thing I didn't like about him. Back in the day, he used to rail against like keeping Twitch a more clean place as far as keeping certain people's off the platform, and which is fine. I don't say he's railed too hard in that, but then he would go on YouTube and there was a controversial figure named Leafy. Now I did like Leafy at some points. I didn't like Leafy at other points. He's kind of a mixed bag. He's a very, very edgy guy, and he's done some shit that a lot of people wouldn't find okay. I think he's funny. I think he can be funny. I also think he's kind of a dipshit a lot of the times, to be honest. Neither here nor there. I'm kind of repeating myself, but he said that like he shouldn't be on the figure when he shouldn't be on the platform when Leafy was going after Pokimane. And he was just consistently, essentially just talking shit. Now the videos, I don't think were that out there. He was just making from it for the general talking points. Simp army, doesn't care about. I don't remember the exact points. Yeah, but the simp army stuff was like a big thing. Oh, if you watch her, you're a loser, and it was like he made maybe a couple videos. I think 3 videos, and then another video that was just him talking about him being into stocks, and that's what ended up getting him flagged. Now, a lot of people blame Pokimane for it. I don't really blame her for it, He had a giant magnifying glass on him, and YouTube was just trying to say, hey, they didn't want to deal with this shit. That's what I'm gathering, which is fucked. I don't like that. I don't like censorship of any form. But Asmongold was like cheering this on to some degree at that time, and I just really didn't. That always stuck with me, and I was like, gave me a bad taste in my mouth from him. But then after that, it seems like his mode of what he finds okay may have changed, and people do change their ideologies and things happen that can change your experience with that. But recently, I think he may have kind of been more open to different people and different conversation, because he's more willing to stick his neck out there no matter how much people may think it's toxic. So I actually do think he's improved a lot in that
being
standpoint.
Able to understand like where, how you should act, how you should treat people, what you should do, how you should say things, etc. So almost everything that I do is a learned performance rather than an innate social, instinct, if that makes sense. And hopefully the performance is good. I consider myself kind of a good actor, at least, right? But of course there are going to be cracks and outtakes as well. And so those are usually in the form of the Twitter clips with 100,000 likes. And so anyway, as a kid, I was always treated this way, and people thought that I was a little bit off, a little bit weird. Like one time, like for example, there was a kid that I was like playing with baseball with him, and he was annoying me, making me mad. And so I hit the ball, and I hit it with the explicit intention of hitting him in the face with the ball, and I did. And so I remember there was blood all over the kid's face. He like broke his tooth and everything, and everybody was standing around like what the fuck, like what? This is like terrible. And I remember walking up. This was like the best day of my fucking life. This happened, and I was so happy. And I could see that other people were made very uncomfortable around this, and that's whenever I started trying to like really kind of mask.
I'm telling you guys,
and how I felt about things, because
Demon Lord Nurgle
was very evident to me that I was not really normal, and this has been again a huge problem my whole life. But that was pretty much the first, at least the time that I can remember in my mind, the first time that I can remember that and see that wow, this didn't go over the way that I thought it would go over, because I was so happy and nobody else is happy and they think I'm like a bad person. But it's like, from my perspective, that's not how I saw it. And, from my perspective, rip bozo. So this is a big problem. And this happens in middle school as well. I cared a lot about like how I looked, how I dressed, etc. in middle school. I mean, really, who doesn't? And, I really tried to like take myself seriously, and I tried to have a good impression, etc., do the right things, say the right things, wear the right things, be the right kind of person. And going into high school, I kind of got there's a weird thing where like I ended up going to like one high school that I didn't want to go to, and then I ended up going to another high school after that, after I told my parents that if they didn't change me over, I would kill myself and fail every single class. Which, to be halfway followed through with that, because my first semester in that high school, I had a GPA of a .08. It was actually...
Dude, that's crazy. You gotta give it to him. You have to try for that, dude. He had to be literally taking shits on his desk. I don't know how you could do that, and throwing it like a monkey, which would be on brand for him. He's such a weird guy. I can't, I know you guys might be like, why would you even watch this guy? I just find him so interesting. His perspectives are so weird. Plus, he also finds topics I would never think to look up, which is like, I don't know. I enjoy that. I like that. He's just such
impressive.
a fucking
hard to do.
weirdo.
I had to go out of my way for this. And so then I ended up getting transferred over, and I went to the school where my friends were. And I think that like the high school that I had originally gone to was a much more superficial, much more like, like a higher class high school, because my dad wanted me to go there because, like he wanted me to go to school to get an education. Imagine that. I wanted to go to school to hang out with my friends. So there was a bit of a disconnect there. And so I go over to the other school, and I realized that I need to stop caring about what people think about me, because I saw the people that were in that other school, and I realized that's not the kind of person that I wanted to be, because they were the more extreme version of the person that I was trying to be. And at that point, I realized that I didn't really want to be like other people, and I had to develop, I guess, my own identity. And this was at like, I would say 14 or 15. And that happened, and that continued all the way through high school. And, I was always like, I never really had a girlfriend, right, in high school or anything like that. Maybe, I talked to a girl, but not really, okay? Yeah. And so I was never really treated very well by, a lot of girls
Poor
or anything
Asmon.
like that. And big surprise, imagine that. And so anyway, this happened, and I kind of got used to this, and it was normal. So I would try to improve myself and, like make myself look better and try to do this, and it would just be met with the same outcome, which was a massive failure. Big surprise. Being a level 60 warrior isn't as attractive to women as it is to other 16-year-old guys. And so,
I think it's pretty cool.
Anyway, I had this happen.
I think girls might think it's cool.
I eventually kind of got to the point where I was more comfortable with that, and I stopped really caring as much about what, like people would think about me, and, in general, just like people's perception of me. And this kind of got worse as time goes on. And I think that I spent like my teenage years primarily trying to disconnect myself and trying to remove myself from the obligation to be a certain kind of person to the public and just to society in general. I viewed society as I never chose to be here. This was not up for discussion. I just spawned in here, and so it's like I have to follow these rules. I have to do all of these things. I have to be this kind of a person. And then, when I was like 17, 18, 19, I asked myself, well, why am I doing this? And so I stopped doing all of that stuff, and I've done many degenerate things, none of which I regret.
That's a hard lesson. That's a hard lesson. I do want to drone on like an old man, okay? A lot of us don't learn that, surrounding yourself by people that don't really appreciate who you are, take it as like a school PSA. You get told this, but it doesn't really stick in your head a lot of the time. It's just like, stop pretending you are this different type of person to the people that you want to impress or anything like that. You'll live a much more fulfilling life if you are just 100% who you are a lot of the time. Now, you can still be yourself while somewhat not being like as abrasive or anything, or kind of couching some of your personality a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. Even I would say when I get on and I talk into the camera, you're seeing kind of a slightly different personality than you would get in person. However, for the most part, I would say this is me, and you want to at least put yourself out there to some degree to people who would appreciate a little bit more of yourself. I guess what I'm trying to say is at least try to be as much as you can of yourself, depending on the situations at all times. Otherwise, you'll just live a fucking harsh life and learn hard lessons about people that will never really understand you. It's not worth being around.
Nothing at all in my life that I've ever regretted at all.
Old man PSA, sorry.
But, I would do things that a lot of people would consider to be very improper. Let's just say that. And so I never really viewed myself, I never really viewed it as like a good or a bad thing. I just, simply existed and I did what I would do. And that was it. And at that point, I pretty much had completely disconnected myself from the perception of other people. And this was at the same time, like growing up, my mom was, I think there was maybe 2 years or so where she made above the poverty level in terms of income. And so we basically barely skated by most of the time.
True.
And
me and you too,
the
buddy.
reason for that, honestly, is because my dad always paid child support, etc., at least until I was 18. And, all that time, she was able to skate by with that and pretty much survive. After high school was over, then obviously like that stopped, and then she wasn't able to support herself, so I was having to figure out ways to make money and try to like piece together money. She would borrow money sometimes from my dad, and it was in general like a very, very negative situation, and so we never really had any money. This was the time where I was pretty much ironically at the peak of my degeneracy. I was probably one of the highest rated warriors in WoW at the time. It was great, but
that's
not
what
necessarily
matters
in real life. And so at this point, I had pretty much completely disconnected myself from the way that people saw me. And I stopped caring about the way that people saw me because I pretty much gave up on being like a normal person. I gave up on being accepted by the public. I gave up.
There are limits. You should worry a little bit about how you're perceived, because in the real world where you have to hold down jobs and you have to try to push yourself to be in society, you have to at least adhere to some societal norms. Otherwise, you'll have a lot harder time just living a general life. So there is something to be said about trying to fit into some degree, but knowing when and how to be yourself at all times is very important, I think.
Living a normal life or having a family or anything like that. I just felt like I just was not capable of that based off of my experiences that I had. And I had many other ones too. Like I stabbed somebody and a few other things too. I probably wouldn't even say because they would too drastically alter people's perception of me. But I want to know. A lot of these instances where I.
Why are you gonna lay down that I stabbed somebody? Let's not get too deep down the rabbit hole. You still let's back up. What do you mean? Dude, someone's got to pry this shit out of him. Is anybody friends with him?
Was like, okay, this is bad. Maybe it's better that I'm quarantined in my house. And so anyway, I did this a lot, and my mom and I, like, it was really just kind of the two of us. My dad was there, he was supportive, and he always has been supportive. But other than that, I do have family, but none of them live in the state of Texas. And so any trouble, any problems, anything like that, it was pretty much entirely on me to resolve this issue. And so take care of my mom, pay for things, anything like that, it was always on me. And her health started deteriorating at about the same time. This is big surprise. You smoke since you're 16. You spend your entire time smoking cigarettes, watching Ancient Aliens, and fucking around on the internet playing WoW, and you're overweight massively like she was. This isn't good for your health, especially when you're getting into your 60s, which she was at that time, because she had me when she was like 39 and a half or 40 or something. And so at this point, her health was deteriorating. Oh. And I remember like she had like a number of instances where like I would like wake up and I hear her like screaming because she would like, I don't even really know what the fuck was wrong with her. I don't know. It was like a weird thing where like she couldn't see out of her eye. And then she had like some kind of like, I think like a bleed in her eye. Oh, and then she had like, I think it wasn't really a heart attack. It was like some sort of like variation of that. And I remember like her like begging me not to call the ambulance. And this is just like, and this is at the same time that the house is fucking, we can barely pay for the house. We're worried about getting evicted from the house. Dude, that's so we have sad. No AC. It's a sad reality. Or no, we did have AC. We didn't have heat. And so, I would go to sleep and like the house would be so cold because I would just give her the heater. And I always viewed it as like, I'm sleeping out on Mount Everest, right? It's like, I'm cosplaying Bear Grylls. And I remember like my glass of water in my room, there would have like ice crystals on the edge of it, right? Because of how fucking cold it was. Yeah. And so I did that really for like 2 years. And so we had like basically like zero money. And so this happened, and pretty much like her health would deteriorate more and more and more to the point where she couldn't drive, she couldn't do X, she couldn't do Y, she couldn't get a job anymore. And then it relied on me more and more to completely support her in like pretty much all ways. And so, and I remember she would like beg, like she was like on the ground, like crying, begging me not to call an ambulance. And so this was very upsetting for me. You
gotta work and get her, help her. I don't know, man. This actually makes me feel bad for him quite a bit. I understand wanting to be there for your family no matter what. I could say a lot of things, but I shouldn't say. I understand where he's coming from. You should be there for your family. I have done a good amount for my family, and I think that's very important. So I really relate to this.
I got to the point where like at this time period, I would wake up like every 2 hours or so with like a weird thing where I would hear her screaming my name, and this went on for maybe like 6 months to a year. Dude. And also I want to say that like all of this
he's getting me.
Dude,
shit.
I don't really.
He's getting
everybody in life has problems. And
I'm relating to this. This is fucked.
Problems. People can kind of see where I'm coming from as a person. I don't really care about sympathy. I don't care about people feeling bad for me. I don't really give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me. So I hope that nobody thinks that this is coming off as any form of a, like sympathy play. I've had things bad happen in my life. I think that in many cases they've been my fault. I've deserved them. But this is just what's happened. And so anyway, and every action and every outcome in my life leading up to now has led me to the position that I am right now. And I think that in a lot of cases I'm happy with how I am. And you can't just go back and edit out all the bad parts and expect to be in the good part. And so at the same time this was happening, like a lot of my friends were obviously going through college, finishing college, having girlfriends, like moving in and everything. And I was worried about, number one, my mom dying. Number two, being homeless. And number three, at that point, I had always assumed that I would kill myself after high school. Like that was my plan.
Jesus!
And,
Whoa, that took a fucking turn. Dude, this is just fucked. This is just a sad story, dude. Man, Asmon, but he has friends. He's a millionaire. Happy ending, really, realistically. Hopefully his mom got to help his mom out when he got some of the success.
Distracted, I forgot. And so I ended up not doing that. And because of that, I never brushed my teeth in high school. Never really gave a fuck about it. Never cared. And this caused, guess what that causes? It causes your teeth to rot out. And so a lot of my teeth had to be, I had to get fillings and everything as a teenager. And my dad paid for a lot of it, which he was very, very unhappy about. And so these fillings would come out. This is what happens with fillings or anything like that. And they did come out, and then, of course, my teeth deteriorated naturally because I love soda. I love drinking soda. I've got a soda right now.
Don't drink soda, guys.
McDonald's earlier today. Really, really like soda.
It's awful.
I like it so much.
Soda
right
sucks.
Now, I only have 5 real teeth left in my whole mouth. And I think you start with like 32, which is kind of crazy to think. And so, anyway, this happened, and all my teeth were starting to rot out. I was not able to eat with one side of my mouth. I would have these toothaches that would get so bad that I would pass out from the pain, and I eventually had to go to like the basically, if you're like, the people that really get fucked by medical bills are the people that are in the middle of like economically, because if you're broke, like they'll do shit for you for like $10. If they can get anything, they'll do it. And so I had a program like that, and so they would have to pull out my teeth kind of regularly, and that's how I lost. I have no back teeth at all. That's why. If you look at my jawline, it's very different than if you look at it from like high school
this
or
is
like
just droning on about
like,
weird,
19
crazy.
or 20. It's completely changed because I've lost all of my teeth and my jaw bone is like pretty much rotted out. And so, which as far as I know is unfixable, at least in the way that I have this problem. There's a separate problem that is fixable. I don't have that one. I talked to a dentist about it. So it's basically like irreversibly fucked. And so anyway, this happened, and it was not a great time. My teeth were rotting out, etc. And at that point, I had to completely, like, pretty much give up the notion and give up the dream of ever being a normal person. At that point, I could feel
that's
myself,
when you gave no offense, Asmon. I think the dream was long gone. I think the dream was
right and,
buried somewhere.
I actually, for a while, I really hated it, but then I got used to it, and then I embraced it, and I think that's where I am now. So I would say like that was from like ages, like I would say 13 to I don't know, like 21, somewhere around there, right? Then after that, I started doing other stuff. I was playing WoW, I was making videos, I was doing other random things, right? And my mom's like health pretty much would always get worse, and that's just that's just the way it is when you get older, right? And so I would have to do my best to like take care of her, and worked at the IRS for a while, tried to work at Sam's Club, didn't really go very well. But overall, I tried to go back to college. I do have a college degree, if you can imagine that. But learned more from business from WoW than I did from business school. And so then I spent that time, and then this was all the time, like, me not knowing if she would, every day I would wake up and like, hear that voice in my mind, and like, it was really, really bad. And this is just something I would do all the time, and I try to always make the best out of things. I try to just, not think about it, but, looking back on it, things were very, very bad. And so anyway, fast forward a little bit later. And
how are you not enthralled by this guy? This guy is so out there, and he's just completely fucking belching out his most inner shit that you would have to literally waterboard me. You would have to literally be peeling the skin from my bones for me to admit any of this. I'm gonna be real with you guys. So I commend this. He has because he has everything. Nothing matters when you have like so much in your life and you've accomplished so much, and you can say whatever you want about him, but he's lived a dream that a lot of people would kill for, and he's able to do things for people and his family and anybody that people would absolutely kill for. And I think that's where some of the resentment may come from, but also because he's very controversial. But from what I understand, he just doesn't give a fuck anymore at this point in his life, which I do like. Hopefully he keeps that up.
Going back to college, I thought that I would just, basically have a shitty job, play video games for my whole life, and then die, right? And then I got a shitty job, and I realized the shitty job is actually a lot more shitty than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So then I remember it was probably like one of the best things
a lot
that
of
ever
shitty
happened
jobs,
to me,
guys.
is that I took this job at Sam's Club, and I hated it so much, it actually encouraged me to make myself a better person, if you can imagine that. Yeah. And so I signed up to go back to university and finish another degree.
This is very real shit. Like, okay, sorry to keep pausing, but like, sometimes really bad events make you change for the better. It just takes like a small experience sometimes, or even just like a small thing for you to realize what you really want in life.
Working on
sounds like you got
law school. Actually, I want to
Sam's
be a lawyer.
Club.
Basically, because I had a friend in high school, we would always play Magic the Gathering, and I could see him. He would always manipulate the rules to come out ahead and win different like arguments in Magic the Gathering, and I was like, I bet lawyers do that in real life. I should do that myself. And so that was always my motivation. And anyway, I did that, and then, you know, a number of other things, you know, random things that are not, you know, I would say like YouTube or public safe that I did. And then after that, I
dude, this guy got me worried. What the fuck is going on? God, I wish I get into call with him.
I started doing YouTube, and I focused on that. And I would put videos out of the way that I lived, etc. And people would always find it to be very funny or like weird, and everybody would like really like. There were a lot of people, and this is true even now, people that like hate me for living the way that I do. And I think that really, you know, people look at a person like me and they see a person who has a number of things in their life that they wish they had, but I've done basically nothing. You know, if you look at it from like, what do they tell you to do when you're growing up? You know, I used every single thing to do as a checklist.
Well, to be fair, he has a company now. He has like a game company that he helps run. And he's part of a large entertainment organization. Or, you know, people like to pretend like what's OTK is this nice, friendly place, but I imagine there's a lot of business going on behind, you know, behind back doors that we don't like to see. It's when you make a thing like that where there's a lot of money on the line, there's going to be a lot of business decisions being made. So I wouldn't say he's done nothing with his power and or fame or whatever, but he's done. People think that they know what they would do with it more than they would actually do. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's part of another reason why people dislike him. I think that's just success of this freak, essentially, over them is probably disheartening, and I can understand. You know. Do I wish I had the money of Asmongold? Yes, absolutely. Do I think some of his opinions are shitty and or fucking sometimes uneducated or just badly done? Sometimes I feel that way. 100%. I'm like, that's just a terrible opinion. Most fucking asinine thought. I don't know why you came to that conclusion. Absolutely, I get that. I do get that with Asmongold. However, you know, it doesn't mean that I necessarily think he doesn't deserve the success he got. In a different life, obviously, he'd be working a lower wage job as I'm working, you know. But yeah, I held nothing against him for that. And you know, as you get older, you learn that money really isn't everything, you know. And you could say it's a coat, but I really try to get through to you guys that money really isn't. And just because somebody has a lot of money doesn't mean that you necessarily should be jealous of them on their life and or, you know, feel anger at or resentment for them for just that. It was just how they handle it and how they do it. Asmongold, you know, this guy has cost Twitch millions of dollars. He obviously cares about money, but he wants his viewers to have a good experience, and he doesn't even monetize his Twitch channel to some degree because he doesn't like the ads. If I remember this correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. And he wants his viewers to have a good experience no matter what, because he's already made it, and money just at some point to him he's like, whatever, I don't fucking care. I do this because I love it, which is still benefiting. You could argue blah xxx. However, I think there is something to be said about this. You know, I respect that. You know,
not to do right. And so, you know, I think that a lot of people could be a little bit, you know, annoyed by that. And so I can see why, and et cetera. And it is disgusting, by the way.
Yeah.
And so,
at least he admits
half your teeth and, living in a dump with a dead rat alarm clock. You don't know if your mom's going to be alive that day. You've got no money. You have to support her. She's never going to be able to support herself. And things are just basically slowly getting worse and worse and worse. And I started doing YouTube, and things started doing a little bit better. I started doing streaming. Things were doing better then. I went to get my teeth fixed, because if you look at my old videos, a lot of my old videos, you'd notice that I smile. When I smile, I cover my mouth when I smile. The reason for that is this isn't Saikuno, where I don't like my smile. Yeah, well, I don't like my smile. It's not because I think it's ugly. It's because I didn't have any fucking teeth. And I didn't want people to see that. And so that's why I would cover my mouth a lot whenever I first started streaming. And so this happened to me for a long time. I go to the dentist, and they tell me it's going to be like around $50,000 to get all my teeth fixed and everything taken care of. Then I thought, maybe, because it was the first time at that point where I kind of it really hit me that I had irreversibly and irreparably damaged my life in a way that I couldn't just immediately undo. Because as a kid, usually you make a mistake where it's you scrape your knee and then, well, you put a bandage on and it gets better. But with this, it never was going to get better, and it's only going to get worse, and it certainly has, by the way. And so anyway, I did want to kill myself, but I decided instead of killing myself, I'd do something even worse. I'd start streaming. And I started streaming because I wasn't making enough money. And everybody says, oh, well, I started streaming because, I like interacting with people. It's because I was lonely. Well, I started streaming for money. I needed some fucking money. And so that's what I did. And I was like, guys.
I'm sorry, that was the most retarded thing. I can't. Oh, streaming is, it's harder than the. It's obviously a joke, but it just got me. Okay?
We've got a donation goal of $100, and if we get $100, I'm going to go to Wendy's tomorrow. And I would always meme it up, $1 equals one donut, and it's I would make a bunch of money, and it was great. And things actually did go very well. I streamed every single night. I was very dedicated. I tried to make things as entertaining as possible, and I did what I tried to do best, right?
Yeah,
and
I respect
things
it.
kind of got better and they improved. This happened just at pretty much the same time. A lot of my friends were kind of evolving and going past, college. They were getting careers, getting married, having kids. And now I'm pretty sure, I'm thinking to myself, I'm pretty sure every single friend that I have is either married or has a kid, which is kind of crazy considering that, I'm sitting here doing what I'm doing. But it is kind of weird. I'm 34 now, which is honestly a fucking shock. I can't believe it. I don't feel 34. I feel like I'm still 16. But I look in the mirror. I see
you and me too, buddy. I still feel 16. I'm fresh as ever, guys. Hey, fellow kids. you know when you're old, when you're I get invited to do things, and I'm like, fuck, man. Shit, I had to make time. I like my room. I like my house. I just want to sit down. Watch some anime shows and play some video games, work out, just do my own shit,
Airline, and I think to myself, oh my god, wait a minute, I think I'm actually 34. And if I'm really not sure, I talk to somebody who's 16, and then I realize, hold up, wait a minute, no, actually I am 34. Because there's no better way
reality
to realize
check.
That you're actually older until you talk to somebody who's actually
Sometimes I see these clips on fucking Twitter, and I'm and they're younger kids streaming or whatever thing like that, and I'm like, man, I really cannot relate at this point anymore. I'd have what is Skibbity? Can somebody tell me what Skibbity is? I'm too old. Okay, I realize this now. It's fucked.
At least it is for me. So anyway, my stream was doing very well. My social life really, I pretty much stopped interacting with a lot of friends of mine because I focused pretty much just on streaming and on making this as much as possible. And also, I'm a very introverted person in a lot of ways. I like being alone. I don't like people talking to me a whole lot. I don't like phone calls. I don't like interacting with people. I don't like going out. You guys might notice this, right? If it's, a mystery or secret. And so, big surprise, that's how it was.
I think a lot of people are like that nowadays.
Then, I started
I think it's becoming more common.
Doing better. and there was a degree of like stress that created. But and in terms of like my lifestyle and everything, living that way, I never really thought about it at that point. I never really worried too much about like kind of how people would perceive me. I always viewed myself as like, this is just who I am. This is what I am. That's all there is to it. And I never really took, and I still don't really take any criticism or any negativity to heart. I don't take it personally. I don't really care a whole lot. And so
I don't know. I always feel like that's kind of coping. So people are like, I don't care what anybody says about me. If somebody wants to be negative, I think maybe to some degree you might care. How much you let it get to you is like really what separates you, and maybe experience dealing with that when you're a large figure does. But I guarantee you, like it, occasionally it might piss him off when somebody's saying some shit about him, especially when it's like a creator that he might like or anything like that. Like I always find that kind of like a cope. When people are negative to me, I don't try to take it to heart. And a lot of times I don't. Like it does roll off a lot of the times, but there are maybe times where I might like fidget and be like, what the fuck is this guy saying? But it's just how much it gets to heart. I just find it a cope when people are like, I'm totally not affected. It's like, yes, everybody, no matter how big you are, there are million subscriber YouTubers and millionaires that do get bugged out by what people say about them. Okay. It's inevitable. Now, I would like to believe that if I had a lot of controversy and people disliking me to some degree, I'd be able to handle it well, and that's all you can hope for. It's handling it well, being able to unplug to some degree and be able to look at it and not be as affected. But it some degree it will affect you. That much negativity around you, it's going to affect you. Like, let's not cope about it. It's just dealing with it.
At the end of the day, it never really bothered me, and people thought it was funny. And so, I had like these snack.
And don't get me wrong, if some absolute dredge of the earth is like calling me a fucking loser, I'm like, okay, bro, look at you, motherfucker. What are you gonna do? Like that rolls off like, bro, you're literally like the absolute worst of the. I don't care. You're a little fucking loser. Like, what do you get? Cry about it?
Snack box, and there were like maggots in the snack box, and I would eat the food with the maggots inside of the food. It was like honey buns, which were really, really good. And to be honest, I didn't even really taste them, so it was pretty much the same thing. Didn't even bother me. And so, I had like taken at that point, my teeth had like totally rotten out. And so I had taken pliers to like break pieces of my teeth off, even, like if I wasn't able to speak during a stream, because like a point was like, poking my tongue, or like, playing a game or something like that, talking to people. And so I still have the pliers actually in my bathroom from all the way back then. And so this had happened for quite a while. And then I guess you could say, I started like, I guess like the second phase of my life of like trying to remove myself from like caring about being worried about the outcome of other people. It was always very scary for me to know that like, my mom would die one day, right? This was extremely scary. This was like the one thing that I
think you should care about that.
And in 2021, it did happen. And so leading up to that was incredibly stressful. She pretty much did everything that she possibly could. I love her, but she did every fucking thing that she could to make things as absolutely unpleasant as possible. Oh my God. And so, yes. It was very frustrating to deal with somebody like that. But, she was 70 at the time. And so it really, really, really hurt. And it's... like she was the main person in my life that I was like most connected to, and like, this is the person that I had like the deepest emotional connection with, and to just lose them. And it was kind of random, by the way. Like, things got worse over time, but it was nothing like at the very end there. It just kind of went off a fucking cliff. And so this happened, and then at about the same time, a little bit after that, I also broke up with a long-term girlfriend at the time. And then
is that Pink Sparkles, guys? Can somebody tell me in the comments? I think it's Pink Sparkles, whatever her fucking name was. That chick. Apparently, I hear, I shouldn't even be saying this, that she's fucking crazy. I could believe it, but I don't know. So, please forgive me if I'm just being an asshole.
My dad got so fucking sick that we were like talking about writing his will, like, and he's still setting all that up because he doesn't know if this shit's gonna happen again, right? What's gonna be? And he's 77 too, so it's rough, right? It's bad. And he went through pneumonia 4 fucking times in a year. And he's still getting around, going to the store.
I shouldn't say that without knowing. Sorry, Spink Sparkles. Okay, I'm sorry.
But I got to help him every once in a while too, right? And it is what it is. And so again, and we don't have any family around here, and so if something goes wrong, if something's bad, there's one person who's responsible for that, and that's me. And so that's a lot of stress. It's a lot of pressure, right? And, I had all 3 of these things happen to me within pretty much 1 year of each other, maybe 2 years with the thing with my dad. And so at that point, I began the second part of, I think that my, abstraction of reality is that I've tried my best to remove myself from caring about other people as much as I can, and not caring about them in terms of being friendly. Of course I'm friendly with people, but being emotionally attached to having them in my life, being emotionally attached to the way that they feel about me and how they're doing. It's been very hard for me to actually have any sort of feelings towards people when it seems like everybody that was important to me is fucking dying. And so or leaving me, right? Or breaking up with me. So at a certain point, you just kind of get away from that. And then after that, we entered into, I would say, the third phase, which is the point where I lose the connection with myself. And I think that whenever I finally do that...
Shit. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm a little slow, okay? Don't hate on me.
I think that maybe one day I might be happy again. And what I mean by that is that I always worry about dying and all this stuff and how I'm where do you go, what happens, right? And it would be very, very stressful for me. And I usually reassure myself by reminding myself.
I'm learning a lot about this guy, but when do we get into the room part? Because is he saying all these psychologically weird and damaging things he's had throughout his life, and living an unorthodox life has made him become the slob that he is? That's what I'm gathering. That all these weird events and being so disconnected from people, very introverted and not caring about the perspective of other people, made him kind of rot max to some degree. Is that what I'm gathering? Is that what you want to state? I wish he got to what his interpretation of what that's supposed to be.
That I'm just a hyper intelligent monkey that probably evolved too fast, and I think that we all are, by the way. It's not like I'm special, and that usually is oddly.
No, actually, I do understand, because he doesn't care about a lot of things, and a lot of things don't affect him normally like other people. So him living like this doesn't really bother him, because it's just probably not something that concerns him in life, and he'd rather just completely play video games and ignore it. And if it builds up, he doesn't understand things the way that other people do, because he's lived such an unorthodox life. That's essentially what he's trying to say. Fucking weird though.
Assuring.
Hopefully we get something else.
It was very stressful for me, and I did think that I was farther along. I thought I would be okay with dying until I thought that I was dying, and then I realized that I wasn't as far along as I thought I was. Recently, whenever I had a blood pressure reading of 194, which is a high score so far.
Yes.
At least so far. And so things have been improving since then, by the way. But anyway, this has been, my life, and I stopped really caring about anything. I stopped caring about what happens to me. I stopped caring about what happens to other people. I stopped caring about what people think about me. And I felt that the more that I have, the more that I've cared about things, the more unhappy I've been as a person. And I think that this is true on a base level. Is this some sort of pathological problem for me?
Yes.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is the best way that I know to cope with it, right? And so for me, the way that I live and everything is a manifestation of that. It's always been this way for me. My mom, growing up, things were pretty messy, etc. But then even now, things are worse than they ever have been in terms of being messy. But
Okay, here we go.
I never really
Here's
think
the
about
juice.
it or worry about it because I'm just never really. It doesn't even cross my mind.
Okay, yes, I was right.
Things that I want to think about. I'm doing things that I want to do, and I never think about what other people think about me. I don't think about how it affects other people. I don't think about how they feel
I was
or
fucking
anything like that.
nailing it.
And
I nailed it. He just doesn't care about anything because he's such a disconnected, weird life that even things like this don't even cross his mind.
Sound like a bad thing, but it's made me a happier and more fulfilled person. Not worrying about anybody else, really, other than myself, unless I have to. And it's been very
I'm a fucking champion.
Weird for me, getting older, especially, and like having like priorities change in your life, and having different things happen to you. And so I wanted to make this video and kind of like explain like kind of how I got to be this way, and hopefully a little bit of this can like explain. Why do I behave this way? Why am I like this? Why do I have no shame with things, right? It's because I've lived a life where I've tried desperately to hold on to any degree of dignity that I've had and anything that I've had, and it's just slowly been taken away from me. Whether it's myself, pieces of myself, other people, or the way that the world sees me. I think that the more that I've kind of just, let things flow freely and not care about it, the more happy and content that I've been.
Yeah.
And so it's an ongoing process, and began whenever I said, I guess I said I was like 13. And, I guess the last thing for me to do is really to let go of myself and, just finally be content with my own existence for the time that I exist. And I'm not really a religious person. I'm not a spiritual person either. I don't believe there's any light at the end of the tunnel. I definitely don't think so. And I just try to make the best of being in the tunnel. And so that's why I live the way that I do. That's why I do the things that I do. That's why I say the things that I do. That's why a lot of criticism and things like this, of course I don't like it. Of course I don't like it.
There we go.
It doesn't really emotionally affect me in the same way
there
that I
it
think
is.
It does for other people. And it used to affect me a lot more, but I've, gotten a little bit better at least at dealing with it. And so hopefully this can answer some questions and kind of give people a little bit more insight into my life and the kind of person I am. And that's pretty much about it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to cover. 30-minute video. Actually, I was expecting it to be longer. So, that's my life story. That's what's happened to me in general.
This was cool.
And that's why I am the way I am. And will I ever change? Maybe, maybe not, right? I mean, I honestly, like, making a lot of money on Twitch and, like, the notoriety and everything, like, people recognize you. I mean, I guess it's nice, right?
Yeah, he doesn't, this guy, I'm telling you, some people would be going out, they would be, after their new fame, notoriety, fame, fortune, they would be going out, living life to go on these clubs and go on a private yacht and try to get as much people and experiences because they have this power and take advantage of it to some degree. But this guy, I'm telling you, is an anomaly. He doesn't care. He's not like, oh, I need to get every woman. I need to get all this money. I need to get these things to be happy. He's lived a life where that's not a thing that he desires, where most people would definitely break under that same ideology, I believe, honestly. And I just find him interesting for just that. He's lived the same life as if he had a job where he's making 30K or 20K. It just hasn't really bothered him. The only difference is, and I'll give him this, is that he owns his house and he runs these organizations, which are big things, but I think that was more current than it was. And he's still, for the most part, just sitting at home, eating fast food, relaxing, has a Y'shtola. Fucking Halo, Mario making like this isn't the rim of a multi-millionaire. It's not because he's trying to appeal to lower people or anything like that. It's because this is what his ideology really is in a standpoint. I really like it. I don't know. I like it. He's a fucking weirdo, but I just like him for that. I don't agree with everything he says, and I don't think you should agree with anything everybody says. And you should occasionally even being mad at them. You know, I get mad at a lot of people I watch online. I watch a lot of people, and I absolutely disagree with them, and they're just being assholes sometimes. But that's fine. I don't think you have to. I think this ideology of like trying to connect so hard with people, and just trying to find some kind of connection, because a lot of things a lot of people feel are just like, you know, a lot of people just feel lost and just want some kind of human connection. That's really what it comes down to. And they have to have all these things with the person they're watching to validate themselves. And it's like, you don't have to. People are different, and that's part of the beauty of life. I don't know. Sorry, that was cheesy. Don't fucking it. But I like this guy. He's a freak. He's a weirdo, and kind of like me. I like him.
I mean, sometimes it's. I mean, having money is way better than not having money. But in terms of like, you know, having a lot of wealth, I live in my same house. I use my same desk.
Oh my God!
You know, for a very long time, drove my same car. I eat in the same places. I do the same things. I really haven't changed at all, honestly, ever since I was like younger. Ever since my streams got popular. And maybe one day I will. Maybe one day I will.
I swear I haven't pre-watched this, guys. Okay, I swear. Sometimes I do pre-watch and I don't say anything like as much. I pre-watch some small things and I don't watch the whole thing, and I watch the full thing when I'm on recording these. I did not pre-watch any of this. Okay, I maybe saw a second of somebody else looking at it, but I did not pre-watch this. I'm just in this guy's fucking head.
I think that one thing that I've always really kind of focused on and thought about a lot is that I have complete and absolute agency over my own life. I can do anything that I want to do, and I can not do anything that I don't want to do. And I think that's been a very comforting fact. And so people ask me, like, are you ever going to do this? It's not something I'm really thinking about changing right now, but in the future, I might change my mind. I just don't know yet. And so I just try to live life and enjoy it, and, be able to experience things for the way that they're meant to be experienced. And really, I don't care a whole lot about that either. I don't care about, going out or having certain life experiences, or, you'll regret this. Well, who cares if you regret this when you're old? You're about to die anyway. It doesn't even matter.
You always regret something.
I've never really felt that way. It's just it's not in me. And so that's really my whole life. And that's why I live the way that I live. It's why I do things the way that I do things. And, maybe one day it'll change. Maybe one day it won't. Who the fuck knows? Tune in next time to find out. So anyway, guys, hopefully this is a little bit more informative, etc. And I got an early end for the day. We had to record something early, so I came home. I figured I'd record this, and it's only 6 p.m., and so I don't know what the hell to do with myself now. I'm not streaming. I'm going to go walk around my house like an NPC. And so, I don't know what to do. I'm probably going to go play video games. So anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. Thanks for listening if you've gotten this far. And things have been going great for me recently. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's been so supportive and everything. And, my best way that I can say thank you is by doing more of it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And that's about it. Peace.
Now, that was great. I actually enjoyed that. A little peek into the mind of a madman, essentially. But Asmon Gold, love him or hate him, he's entertained a lot of people, and he's not... The most he's done, the worst he's done, is have some shitty opinions online, which, granted, I probably do every time I film a video. You're going to get a lot of shit wrong. You're going to have some terrible takes. I'm fine with that, But I enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys did too. If you did enjoy this and or actually watch this, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends and family that I'm here for you and I love you very much and will be there even at your worst days. Take it easy, guys. Bye.